Hello and welcome back to the OliviaSea podcast with your host, Bianca Franco. So this episode is going to be a little different than on my other podcast. I normally have guests with me on here, and this week it's solo, it's just me. So I kind of mentioned in my other podcast that like a little something that people keep asking me questions on that so the last one I did with Samantha, when we talked about sharks and like all her travels and stuff and protection with sharks. The one before that I did with Toby, and we talked about travel and what to bring on your dive trips and all that good stuff as well. And I mentioned slightly that I may be moving to New Zealand. So announcement, everyone, I'm going to be moving to New Zealand. So if this is the first time you're hearing this podcast, welcome, first of all. And maybe this will be a good one to get to know me better, because it's going to be a little bit of a Q&A. And let's see. So basically I asked people on social media and like other outlets to send me their questions, because I was getting a lot of questions after the last 2 episodes. So instead of just individually answering them, because I was, and it started getting a little repetitive, I decided to just make a podcast on it. So I had everyone send in their questions, and I got some really good questions. I was pretty surprised. I got some funny ones, just some general, like I'm really excited that you guys are interested in what I'm doing, because I don't really know what I'm doing. I don't know how well I'm going to answer these questions, but I'm going to try my best. And I'm excited. I'm excited to make it a thing now, because it was kind of a secret for a while, just because I don't know what I'm doing, and I decided, you know what, I still don't know what I'm doing, so let's talk about me not knowing what I'm doing. So I hope this is what you guys wanted, so enjoy. And the following podcast will go back to normal. I will have guests again, and it's actually my favorite month, which is October, because I post every other Monday, and so I have some like scary ones set up, so I'm really excited. So this is going to be a very rare thing for me to do a podcast on my own and it to be solo. I really enjoy the interaction with someone else being on here with me, instead of me just talking on the camera or to the mic to myself. It's kind of weird, but you know, I am excited for this experience, and it's happening really soon, so I'm going to continue talking about New Zealand in future podcasts, and I'm going to be hopefully doing podcasts in New Zealand as well. That's the whole point of this. So now is probably the best time to talk about all the questions you guys have for me. So instead of writing them all down on a piece of paper and just reading off everyone's questions, because I try to keep these podcasts a little organic. I just think it sounds more fun. But so I had people send in their questions, and I put it in a little jar so I can just draw them out. Obviously, I know what the questions are going to be, but that way it just sounds not as rehearsed, and I will try to get through as many as I can, but still try to keep the podcast about an hour. Let's try not to go overboard, but hopefully I don't rant too much about some of these questions, because some of these questions are a little difficult to answer, and I'm going to try to be open and honest as I can. And yeah. Okay, so the first one, I'm not going to draw from the jar. I know I just said I'm going to draw from the jar, but this was the number 1 question I was asked, and it kind of will set a good, I guess, like guideline to all the rest of the questions, because it's pretty broad and basic. So the first question that was asked is, why New Zealand? Which is a very, very good question. Out of all the countries in the world, why did I pick New Zealand? Well, maybe I should start off with, I did think about trying other countries first. I did apply to go to Canada, because I do have a little pup with me. The goal is to take Zesty with me on these trips. And so I figured, well, I can drive up to Canada. And if it doesn't work out, I can just drive back home. How hard can it be? It's like our neighbor country. And just why not? Why not? So I applied. They said no. They basically said, I have to go to school or provide something like basically be valuable to their country. And I'm a barista / bartender. I do work at a lab at the hospital. But I don't really have a degree, a bachelor's degree. I have an associate's degree in science, which I wanted to turn into a marine biology degree. But that's a whole another podcast. School is expensive. And so I did consider, okay, maybe I'll go to school in Canada, finish my marine biology degree. That's always been my passion, was to be a marine biologist. Right now, that path isn't just for me. I just cannot afford to put down all that money. I have applied to a couple schools, like Scripps University. They wanted like $100,000, and it's just not my path. So I decided to take another path. As you guys can see, I want to promote and share my ocean love and passion through another way, through film and video and now a podcast. So I just ruled out Canada for that reason, because I don't know if I want to go back to school just now. I just can't afford it. And otherwise they just won't let me in the country, so that's a straight up deny. I did consider Mexico. I do have a dual citizenship to Mexico, but with me having a dual citizenship, I can go there any time in my life. And I do go there a few times a year, but I want to do something fun, something crazy and different and new. So I'm like, okay, let's rule out the countries that speak like I need to be able to speak English. Like I can learn another language, fine. But maybe that shouldn't be the first country I travel to by myself with a dog. So I considered Australia because it is a cheaper country to live in. Their visas are a little strange, where every like 4 to 6 months or something, I think you have to switch and get a different job, which I didn't like that in like security. I want to get a job if I can get a job in a country and keep it. Just try to keep that job. I don't want to go out every 4 to 6 months and be stressed out that maybe I need to get another job or what. And I may be wrong, but I kind of heard this rumor from more than one person that Australians don't hate me, but I heard the guys aren't very nice to women there. I can be wrong. I don't know. I've never been there. But me being a girl and traveling alone to another country by myself, and I've never done this before, maybe I should try that out, like visit the country first and work my way into it. I'm sure everyone's nice, but it did kind of intimidate me to go to that country, so I'm like, okay, rule that out. I did consider South Africa, but I don't think my parents will agree with that. So it kind of just narrowed down to New Zealand. I know that's not an exciting answer, but that's pretty much what it is. The visa was super easy to get. So if anyone wants to go and they're 30 and under, you can get this thing called a work visa. And it took me a week to get. They're just like, come into my country, it's fine. And they waived the fee. And I know that wasn't a New Zealand accent. I don't know what that was. My bad. But they waived the fee, and it was that easy. I just applied, told them what I wanted to, tell them what I want to see, told them my age, I might bring a dog, and they're like, welcome, come and see the land. So it was literally that easy. So that's the just long answer of why I picked New Zealand. And I mean, who wouldn't want to go to New Zealand? That's where Lord of the Rings was filmed, and it's just downright gorgeous. So why not? I'm also at a point in my life where I've been working at the same job for a very long time. I am living in the desert where I'm someone that's really passionate about the ocean. I want to be surrounded by water. So New Zealand has like abundance of beautiful beaches, and also like flying out from New Zealand, I can go to Australia, I can go visit there. I can go to a bunch of other countries, the French Polynesia. There's a bunch of little islands all around that I can just hop over and hopefully see why I'm there. So I figured that's just a good hub spot for me. I may be wrong. I don't know what I'm doing, but here goes nothing, right? All right, so I think I finished that question. Let's move on to the next question so we can get most of these questions out of the way. All right, this one is, what will you be doing in New Zealand? I don't know. So one of my main goals is to obviously film and dive as much as I can while I'm in New Zealand, because I will be surrounded by water. And at first, I don't think I will have a job or anything, so I'm going to just dive as much as I can and film as much as I can. And when I'm going is in November, so November is a really special time because all the orcas come through and they're hunting for like stingrays and stuff right there. So hopefully my goal is to free dive with the orca, film it, and go from there. There's a few organizations that I'm looking into to help volunteer and get more personal, and hopefully I want to like learn as much as I can while I'm there about other cultures, or other cultures I should say, and just anything. I want to learn some new stuff. I want to see new things. I want to go on hikes. I'm kind of shy, so I want to be more social and force myself to do something to get myself out of this bubble that I've been putting myself in this last 8 years. And I finally kind of just, like, for lack of better words, I grew the balls and I'm just gonna do it. So I'm just gonna make the best of it and hopefully learn and do and see as much as I can. But I really don't have a plan on like certain places that I should be seeing. I've looked into places that I want to see. So if anyone's been to New Zealand and knows the things I think I should do, see, maybe eat, because I like food, let me know. That would be great. But hopefully that answers your question for whoever asked me that. When can I come visit you? Please, everyone, please come visit me. Like I said, I'm not very social, so I'll make friends, but I'm not one to like put myself out there to talk to people. So please come visit me. Hopefully when you guys come visit me, I will know my way around and show you beautiful hikes and go to Hobbit Town and do fun things. So give me like a month maybe and to settle in. 1 second. Zesty, come here. Come here. Okay. Let's see. What city in New Zealand will you live and why will you choose there? Okay, I'm hurting my dog. Zesty, come here. Apologize. My dog, every episode, he wants to go pee right when I'm recording. Come here. Come on. You can come sit and join the podcast and say hi to everybody since you want to be a part of it. Okay. Thank you, Zesty. Thank you for your participation. All right. What was the question? What city in New Zealand will you live and why do you choose to live there? That's a great question. So I'm flying into Auckland. But I'm not sure if I'm going to live there. Like I said, I don't really know what I'm doing. I pick Auckland because it's the biggest city in the North Island. I know there's other places obviously in New Zealand to live. Auckland is a little expensive, which is why I'm not committed to living there. But I figured that would be a good start. So the first month I did rent a Airbnb. I'm going to explore the area. Kind of hopefully, I'm not big into cities. Obviously, I want to be like by the mountains or the ocean, preferably. But I don't know. Like I don't know for sure what city I'm gonna live in. I just know I want to live on the North Island because the South Island is a little cold and being living in the desert for the last 10 years, I haven't really been accustomed to any cold weather. So, I mean, I will survive. I know I will. But do I want to? Probably not. So I'm going to start off in the North Island, work my way around. If I don't like Auckland, I figured what I would do, this is my master plan, is go to another like area in the northern, just keep going north and live there, get an Airbnb for a month, see if I like that area. Don't like it, I'll just keep going until like I eventually find a spot. I'm just basically gonna look who has the best beach dive. Obviously Auckland is full of boats and crazy stuff, like city stuff, not crazy stuff. But the reason, the question is, why would you choose to live there? I don't know the answer to that question because I haven't picked a place, but that's the best I got for you. When I do find a place, maybe I'll let everyone know. This is the general area. Basically, the North Island is where I'm headed to, and if I don't like the North Island, maybe I don't like it, I can just go to the South Island and go there. So, wish me luck. I'm gonna put my dog on my bed. 1 second. Okay. Next question. That question was really difficult. I apologize. What will you be doing when you get there? Was that very similar to this other question? Yes, pretty much the same question. I'm gonna skip that one. I don't know why I wrote that twice. Alright, sorry about that. Zesty really had to go. I had to take a brief intermission, and we'll start with the next question. That cuck-ahead dog. Alright. Do you plan on getting your dry suit certification? When I first saw this question, I was like, why the heck is he asking me this question? It's such a weird question, so random. I guess it's ocean related, but New Zealand is going to be cold. So I'm assuming that's why you're asking this question. But I already have my dry suit certification, so I should be good. But I'm hoping. I'm not a big fan of dry suits, to be honest. I honestly prefer just wearing the wetsuit because once my head is cold and my hands are cold, it's hard for me to stay warm in any way. So I'd rather just my whole body just be cold and just deal with it, because no matter what, I'm going to be cold. So I kind of don't find like the purpose of wearing a dry suit. I do like the extra buoyancy and it's super easy to use. But I never really was a fan. But I do have my certification. So if worst comes to worst and I cannot handle the cold, I do have my dry suit certification. So we are good on that. Let's see. This is a good question. So 3 goals, ocean related, when you get to New Zealand. I did mention one earlier, was to free dive with the orcas and see the orcas. That's my number 1 main goal. But my second goal, I guess I would pick, would be probably free diving. So for those of you who don't know me very well, I scuba dive and free dive, and free diving and kind of switching over to a little bit more. I like the freedom of all the equipment. I love scuba diving, but I love no equipment. I'm not very strong as a person, so walking around with all that gear when you're getting in and out of the boat when you're scuba diving, I've always had a hard time with that. I love the freedom of scuba diving and how deep you can go and how long you can stay underwater. I love that, and like the interaction with the animals. But I like the what's the right word? The challenge of freediving. And so I picked it up about a year ago with Melissa. You guys met her in one of the previous podcasts. She was in the interview with the mermaid. She was in my class with me, and we took the freediving class together at the same time. A few months later is when I had this crazy idea I'm going to move out of the country and get all this stuff started, and maybe it was like 6 months later. I'm not really sure. But I picked up a second job, and I lost all this time to where I can practice freediving. And so that is my goal when I get there, is I won't have 3 jobs anymore, I will be having a lot of free time. We'll have a lot of ocean time, and I want to find a good dive community and be able to pick up free diving again and hit my goal of reaching I don't know if I should tell you guys, because what if I don't reach my goal? Oh, I said I would be honest. Okay, so I want to reach a goal of hitting 90 feet. I don't know if I will make it in the year, because as of right now, I think I put myself back in beginner mode of freediving. So let's just say yes, I'm back in beginner mode freediving, basically starting from ground one. So I'm hoping when I get there, I'll have the time and the commitment to boost up my freediving a little bit and to have the interaction with all the animals that I want to do and do all the filming and stuff. So second goal, first one was orcas, second is freediving. Third, I think I would pick, I had to think about this one, but they have beaches in New Zealand where there's penguins on it. I'm not quite sure if there's one on the North Island. I think there's one. I could be wrong, so correct me if I'm wrong. But on the South Island, I know for sure there's like 3 or 4 beaches where there's penguins. So I want to make sure I make it to the South Island at least once, because I'm going to go find a beach with penguins on it and just be happy about it. I obviously I cannot go and interact with the penguins, but I just want to see them in person because they're so darn cute. But those are my 3 goals. That was a really good question, so thank you for asking that. Let's see. Next question. How do you have the money to move there? Good question. I don't. Well, so I pick up I was working at La Paloma as a barista. I pick up all the extra shifts I can. And I realized that wasn't going to be enough. So I picked up a second job, and I work at the lab as the hospital as a lab assistant. So I'm working 7 days a week. I do dog sitting jobs on the side. I pick up all these extra things. I mean, I'm not making money podcasting or these videos. These are all for fun. But I save what I can. I've been trying to sell a few things in my house. I don't really have any valuable things, so that's not really getting me very far. But basically, I paid off my car, I paid off the debt I had, and been saving as much as I can to get me there. I have things paid off already when I get there, like my Airbnb for the first month and stuff, but I'm hoping I have enough. Like, when you apply for the visa and in order to get into the country, they recommend you to have at least, I think it was $4,000 for when you enter the country. Like, because I think New Zealand's just expensive. They want you to have security, to have some money, and they also need to have enough money for the plane ticket back, because you are not allowed to stay there after 1 year. You will get in trouble. So I have that money saved up, but that's what they recommend. I obviously want to have more than that, just in case I can't get a job. I don't know what's going to happen out there, so I want the extra security of extra money. So it's not that I have the money to go there. I just been working my ass off for a while to make this dream of mine come true and do this wild, crazy adventure that who knows what might happen when I'm there. So that's basically the easy answer for that. Next question. Oh no, this is the worst question. It's probably going to be the longest answer. And I might need you guys' help with this question. It says, will you bring Zesty, my caca-head dog? So, I don't know where to start. The original plan is yes, I'm going to bring Zesty. No questions, hands down. Like, the gist of Zesty is we've been together for 10 years. He's been my emotional support. He's my baby. He's my little everything. He's been on all my adventures with me. He's moved me to San Francisco. He's just been everywhere. He is now 13 years old, so of course I'm going to bring Zesty with me. I'm not going to go to another country and then come back and he might not be here. So that's where I'm torn. So I'm going to lay it out for you guys. And maybe you guys can help me come up with a decision, because I don't know what to do. I don't know if I'm being completely selfish here and want to spend Zesty's golden years in New Zealand, or if I'm going to really stress him out with this whole travel thing, because he is older. He has separation anxiety and all that stuff. He's a small dog. You guys just saw him. He has a tough time traveling. So this is the gist. I was originally going to bring Zesty, hands down, no questions. He's coming with me. I bought him a backpack. I'm going to throw him in it, and we're going on adventures together. Done deal. And then I'm like, okay, so what do I need to do to get Zesty into the country? So I went through this checklist for him, and it's the one that immigration sent me, and it's like, you need to get these shots, this, and this. Okay. And they have a special timeline as when you should bring a dog into a country. So when it hit 6 months, I needed to take him to the vet for rabies or whatever, for example. I don't know the exact checklist. I don't remember. I just did his 3 months and everything. But at 6 months, they told me, your dog has a bad heart. And so obviously I'm torn up about it. It's not an easy thing to talk about. But he has a heart murmur, and they don't know how long he has, basically, to put it bluntly. And I said I'm going to be honest here. So I asked him, so I'm moving to New Zealand. Should I take my dog with me? They were like, oh yeah, he should be fine. I'm like, oh, shit. I'm like, well, you just told me he had a bad heart. I don't understand. And we're like, well, it's a murmur. Like I said, it can happen at any time. Just try not to stress him out. You have not met Zesty. He gets stressed out when I go to work each morning. So I told them that, and they're like, well, the decision is up to you. If you think Zesty can handle the trip, bring him on the plane. They said they recommended him to be on basically in the plane with me. And I was like, fine, I'll just tell New Zealand Air that this is my little dog that I might have to have with me for anxiety, and it'll be fine. Problem solved. I'll get all his shots, bring him into the country with me. We'll live his golden years in New Zealand. Where is Zesty? And I start reading his checklist again at 3 months. And I'm like, oh, he needs a pet transporter. Should go and figure out what I need to do for that. So I went online, emailed the people in Auckland, like, hey, I'm bringing my dog. It says I need a pet transporter. Can you help me with that? So they send me an email back, and they're like, well, this is for New Zealand dogs. Get one in the US. I'm like, okay. So they sent me this guy in LA, because I'm flying out of LA. And he hit me back, and he's like, so what's the situation? So I told him Zesty's situation, this is when I'm going, this is the dog I have, yada, yada, yada. And they're like, okay, I'll send you a quote. I was like, okay, a quote? I didn't know how to pay for this guy. I mean, it's just a pet transporter. What is he going to do, hand the dog to New Zealand? So when I get the quote, it said he was $5,000 to take my dog to New Zealand. I did not have that in my budget. So little me freaking out, thinking, okay, I had to come up with $5,000 in like 4 months. I have 4 months now to figure this all out. So I set up a GoFundMe for Zesty. I was thinking, okay, I'll just do this GoFundMe thing. And I got insecure about it, and I dropped it. It was like 2 weeks later. I just could not ask people for money. It's not one of my things to do or traits. I've always been raised to, work hard for what you want, and it will work out. And so that's what I've been doing. I've been working so hard and to figure this all out. But now that I'm getting closer, I'm kind of torn about what I should do, because it wasn't in my budget to bring Zesty, or it wasn't my budget the $5,000 was not in my budget for Zesty. It did take a big chunk of my savings out for New Zealand. But I don't have the heart to ask for anyone here to watch him for a year because he is kind of a handful. So these are my options. I can bring Zesty with me. It will cost me some money. But if he makes a plane ride, and I don't know. Okay, so the quarantine thing too is he's in there for 2 weeks. I'm worried that it might be too much for him. But everyone's saying, "Oh, they're fine. It's fine." But I don't know. I don't know how these things work. I've never done it before. I have never met anyone that has put their dog through quarantine. But it can't be a good experience. I'm assuming that it's probably a stressful experience for any animal, whether cat, dog, whatever. But also my second option is to find a home for Zesty here, but maybe not be in New Zealand as long as I planned, because leaving him here for a year, I don't know how well he'll do. And I will just not work, travel all throughout New Zealand, maybe get a van, and see as much as I can until I run out of money. So I can bring my dog with me, live there for a year, but I would have to get a job, obviously. That's my main goal, is to get a job anyways, like, because I want to stay there as long as I do, or as long as I can. Or leave Zesty here and try to see as much as I can. I don't know what to do. Because I've never pictured myself without Zesty. And I don't know if I'm explaining this very well, but it's my biggest stressor. And yeah, so to answer your question, whoever asked that, are you bringing Zesty? I have no idea. Yeah, so maybe you guys can, if you guys have a friend that's had their pet through quarantine, maybe that'll help me feel better. That's a question that is gonna probably be answered very last minute. Probably when I'm boarding the plane. Like, oh yeah, by the way, can answer it then. But yeah, so what do you guys think about that? I don't really know how I feel about that situation. It's a hard question to answer and talk about, and I don't know what to do. But maybe you guys can give me some solid, good advice, because I need some right now. And like I said, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just going on this adventure and hoping for the best. So maybe you guys know more than me, and maybe can help me, point me in the right direction. Obviously not answer the question for me. This is going to be something I'll have to figure out initially what I should do and the end decision. But yeah, so I might be in New Zealand for a year. I might be there for 3 months. Who knows? So I didn't answer that question. I feel like I'm not answering any of these questions, but I'm doing my best, okay? All right. Oh man. What made you fall in love with the ocean? This is a very good question to jump to right after that terribly answered question. So I remember, when I fell in love with the ocean, it started when I was little. I grew up in the Bay Area, and I was surrounded by water, so I've always had a curiosity for water. But the exact moment where I really fell in love with the ocean was when I saw my first great white shark. So it was kind of rare. It's a rare occasion what happened. So my parents every year would always take me to the Monterey Bay Aquarium. And that was my thing. Even for my birthday, I'd be like, I want to go to the Monterey Bay Aquarium. And till this day, I still love going to the Monterey Bay Aquarium. And there's this rare occasion where these fishermen were releasing sea turtles or catching sea turtles, like a catch and release type thing for the aquarium, because what they do is they catch injured animals and they help them out and they bring them in the aquarium and then they take them back and release them. But in this process, basically they caught a baby great white shark. And being an animal that is not seen very often to the public, they decided to bring the shark into the aquarium. Being older and now knowing the situation of everything, maybe this wasn't the best idea to bring a great white shark into the aquarium. I probably wouldn't agree with that now, but being a kid and seeing a great white shark seeing a great white shark in the shark tank, that was great. I was super excited. So my mom, she was like, well, she got like an email or something. She's like, well, do you want to go see the shark? I'm like, of course I want to go see the shark. So she drove me down. It takes about, where we were living in the Bay Area, it took about 4 hours to get to Monterey. And they took me, and that's like through the aquarium, the whole aquarium. It was the last thing we had to see. And that's all I wanted to see was this great white shark. And because in my head, I'm picturing this huge, massive shark with all these teeth hanging out. And like, you know, like in the books, you see they're pretty scary. And, you know, I don't know what I imagined. Like, I wanted to be really scared. So we get to the big ocean part of it's like the open water, ocean water, something like that, part of the aquarium. And I see this shark, because there's a few sharks in the tank as well. And I finally see the great white shark just circling around. He's like coming around. But he was so small. He was so, like, such a baby. And in my head, I only pictured sharks, especially this one, being really big. And I was like, oh my God, it's so cute. It's the cutest thing I've ever seen. But but all its teeth were hanging out. Like, you could see it coming out from the bottom of their jaw. And there were so many of them because he came right up to the window and like showing off. And it was the coolest thing. My parents could not get me away from the window. I was just glued to the window and I wanted to stay and stare at it for hours. And I think that was the moment that I decided that I want to be learning anything and everything about the ocean. I want to learn more about sharks in particular. They're my favorite. I want to be in the water with these animals. I want to be a scuba diver, because also the Monterey Bay Aquarium, they had scuba divers in tanks. I'm like, I want to be that person. So it's always been a thing of mine, but that was the exact moment, was seeing the great white shark. And that shark didn't last very long. It only lasted a week, or I think maybe 2. So it was super rare. But it started eating all the other sharks in the tank, because it is a very territorial shark. If it's in your way, it will attack you. So that's why, being older, I'm not sure why they put that shark in the tank. But me being selfish little Bianca, I'm so happy they did, because that was the moment I was just like, this is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. And it is so cute that I will love it forever. So that's the moment I remember. I don't even think I have pictures of that. I don't have any pictures or anything, but it's definitely one of my fondest memories I have of, liking ocean stuff. So that's basically what started my passion for ocean. And it just kind of just never stopped after that. So yes, I hope I answered that question for you. Literally, I have the Baby Shark song stuck in my head now. So, the next question says, that's a big move. How did you find the courage to do it? So, I think I answered this question already. Like I said, I basically grew the balls to do it. But I am still nervous. I'm still super nervous to do this move, and I think mostly because the whole zesty situation, as you guys now know, and I don't really have anything planned out. But I guess that makes it all the fun and all the adventure. Like, I'm just going, hoping for the best. I'm just gonna walk into the country and be like, I'm here, accept me. But yeah, I really don't know what I'm doing. I'm super nervous, and to have the courage to do something like this, I think, like I said earlier, or maybe I didn't say this, but I feel like this time in my life I have to do this. Like, oh, I did say this. Like, I was, had my job forever, and I'm finally just like, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to do something fun. I want to do something selfish. I'm always, I'm glad I'm the type of person that thinks about others and puts others first, but I want to be selfish for 1 year and do what Bianca wants to do. And I want to go swim in the water for a year. And that's all I want to do. So I basically kind of just said, fuck it. And I'm going. I might not be planning this out the way it should be. I still have a lot of stuff in my house that I need to get rid of. I'm just kind of winging it. I'm hoping for the best. So to answer the question of how did you get the courage, I am still building up the courage to go, and I will probably be nervous right up until the very end. And every day I question if I'm making the right choice, but I feel like since I am a little scared and I'm a little nervous, I should be on the right path, right? Like, if you are bored and stuck and doing the same thing every single day, maybe you should try something new and do something crazy. Maybe not move to another country like me. It's a bit absurd. Oh, no, that's not. I'm excited. It's going to be fun. But, I mean, you don't have to go as extreme as me. That's a better word. But, just trying to step out of my comfort zone in the most extreme way. So, that's the answer to your question, I hope. I'm trying my best here. Okay. Ooh, I like this question too. Why do you like whale sharks? I don't think anyone's ever asked me this question, so I was really excited when this question popped up. So, when someone asked me this, like I said, no one's ever asked me, I had to think about it, because, like, why do I like whale sharks? But they're very similar to me. They're a very solitary animal. I don't go out of my way to talk to people. I do things alone a lot, going to travel to another country all by myself. And so, we have things in common, me and the whale sharks. They also love their food, so me too. But in all jokes aside, they're a very mysterious animal, and I like the mystery of the ocean. I like deep sea animals and anything that has that bit of mystery to them. I really, really love. And the whale shark, they're just gorgeous. Their patterns, each pattern is so unique and so different. And, just they don't even know where or how or where. I think they found out actually recently, the Galapagos. I could be wrong. But they're still very confused of how they give birth, because no one's ever seen a live birth from a whale shark. So that's just one of the many things that makes them so mysterious. And like, even their travel patterns are so crazy, and they're all over the place, and they don't know what they're doing. Maybe that's why I relate to them too. I don't know what I'm doing. So I don't know. They're just beautiful, beautiful creatures. And I love all animals and everything about the ocean, but they are the one thing to me that really shines. And being the biggest fish in the ocean, I just think they're just gorgeous and beautiful and mysterious, and I love that very much about them. So that's not a New Zealand goal. Obviously, I don't think they travel to New Zealand. Maybe they might. With global warming's happening, you never know. But that is one of my main goals in my life, is to hopefully be lucky enough to dive with a whale shark. So I'm going to make that happen. And when I do, be prepared because I'm going to cry like a little baby. But, this is my last question, guys. Thank goodness. Is the move permanent? No, it is not. So, there's no way for it to even be permanent. So, the work visa that I have, it's only good for a year. And once the year is up, they want you in and like out. They're like, thank you for visiting. We will see you later. Come again another time. So basically, if I stay longer than a year, I will get in big trouble. They will, if I get caught, they will fine you and make sure you're never allowed back in the country. So once my year is up, I'm headed back in. There is other ways. Obviously, I can go back and stay there if I really wanted to stay there for another year. I would have to come back and stay in the country or any country for like 2 weeks and then go from there. But I think right now, at this point in my life, the most I want to stay there is a year and just have fun and do something selfish, and then maybe, I don't know, I'll travel to another country or I'll come home and be an adult. Like, I don't know what my future holds, but right now the max limit and time frame I'm giving myself is a year, because also I'm not sure how I'm going to afford it. That was one of the other questions that was listed on there was what job am I getting? And I didn't write that in the notes because I'm not really sure what job I'm going to get, or if I'm even going to get a job, because it depends on what I'm going to do with the little zesty, whether I'm just going to travel until I run out of money, or if I'm going to live there for a year. But obviously I can get a barista job, it seems like, because I did apply to a couple jobs, and they've already responded asking for an interview, like, come in and go in an interview tomorrow. I'm like, little problem. I'm still in the US. I put in my cover letter that I'm not going to be there till November, but it still seems to be a bit of a confusion where they wanted me to come in for an interview. So it seems relatively easy for me to get a barista job. But I do want to step out of my comfort zone and do something crazy and different. So I can't answer that question of what job I'm going to get. I just know for sure that I'll be diving and filming as much as I possibly can. I don't consider that a job. I don't make any money off of this, but it's definitely a passion of mine, and that's what I want to do. So that's one of the questions also that I got, that I just did not put in there just because I don't know. I cannot answer it. And I apologize. A lot of these questions, I just realized I cannot answer for you. But I gave you my most honest and open answers, and I hope that was really interesting for you guys. I'm sorry. The podcast will go back to normal starting the following Monday. And yeah, this is going to be a very rare thing because it's definitely more fun having someone else here on the podcast with me. But I'm super happy that you guys are so curious and so supportive of me not knowing what I'm doing with my life and going on this adventure and doing something really crazy and fun. And it makes me feel really special that you guys just are so curious and just want to know. And I'm sorry I don't have any answers, so don't judge me. But yeah, so if you guys have any other questions, I don't know if you had the chance to reach out to me or whatever, feel free to ask me questions. Hopefully I'll have the answer for you. But yeah, that's pretty much the podcast for today. And if you guys have been listening to my other episodes, I did mention in the last one I would start doing a tip at the end of each episode about how to reduce plastic. And since I had these little questions here in a jar, I decided to share the jar. So as I mentioned last week, the tip was to use those reusable bags for when you get like fruits and vegetables. So like I said as well, the biggest hardship for me when it comes to not using plastic is the grocery store. So I do have these jars here, and this is how much it weighs. I I take these to the grocery store and fill it up with like, I don't know, flour, nuts, whatever. Sprouts is really good about having those bins where you can get like nuts and flowers and candies, mostly candies, and fill these up instead of using the plastic bag. But it is a little difficult because you have to remember to bring these. And if you don't have the weight on it, you do have to go to the cash register and have them weigh it for you. They'll weigh it and they'll tar it. So they don't charge you for the glass as well as the gummy bears inside the freaking jar. So yeah, that's pretty much my tip for this week. I didn't spend any money on this jar. This is a jar I got for, I think it had cashews in it originally at the store. And I was like, this will make a really good jar. So I just took the label off and reused it. So you're saving money, you're doing the environment a solid, and it's really easy to do. I mean, you just got to remember to bring the jar to the store and you'll be good to go. So that's my tip for this week. If you guys have any tips for me of how to reduce plastic waste in your life or what your favorite thing to do is, let me know. I would like to share these on the podcast as well. I would love to learn from you guys. I hope you guys are learning things from me. I'm not too sure about this episode, but I think this episode was a lot of fun, and I think it feels good to finally let the world know, or whoever's listening know, that I'm moving and this is my plan, and it feels good that it's out there now. And I'm sorry it took so long for me to announce it, but this is it, guys. So one last thing I would like to mention before I end the episode is that reviews are a really big thing in the podcast world. So if you enjoyed this episode, or if you're liking the OliviaSea podcast and you're learning stuff and you want to share this with your friends, go ahead and leave me a review. Tell me that it's wonderful and leave me 5 stars. Just kidding. But the best way to leave a review is on your Apple podcast. It helps other people find your podcast. So it's super helpful, and it also lets me know if you even like the podcast. I mean, don't leave a bad review because that will make me sad. But also, if you don't have Apple Podcasts, you can leave a review on my YouTube. So if you are listening, you can watch this on my YouTube channel. I mentioned that earlier. But you can leave me comments and reviews on there. And it just lets me know what range, like what topics and stuff and people are generally interested. So it would be really helpful. You can also message me through my social media. It's BiancaOlivia_ for my Instagram. And I think that's it. I think I'm done talking for this episode, and I think Zesty is a bit antsy. But I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast or this episode, and I hope I answered all your questions. I post new episodes every other Monday, so thank you guys so much for listening, and thanks you for listening to me rant. Little Zesty's twitching, how cute. And please let me know or give me your opinion about this little cutie Zesty head. And I just appreciate you guys, and I appreciate you guys being so, just being you and being so curious about everything I'm doing. So thank you for the support. I love you guys, and I will see you guys in 2 weeks.